In today's video, we'll be discussing what is risk. We said that there are two main elements in an investment. One is return, the other one is risk. So, what is risk? Risk is the possibility of variation of actual return from the expected return. When we are making an investment, we have an expectation that after a certain period of time, the amount that we invested will earn us a certain percentage of return. This expectation of the return in the future is known as expected return. But after that period of time, what we actually receive as a return might vary from our expected return. This possibility of variation of return is known as risk. So there is expected return and realized return. Expected return is the uncertain future return that an investor expects to get from his investment. And there is realized return, that is the actual return that an investor has obtained from his investment. So we can simply define risk as the potential for variability in returns. What are the elements of risk? Now, there are two factors that cause risk. One is external factors and the other one is internal factors. The external factors are those factors which are beyond the control of the business. It is which is external to the particular company. It might be affecting all the companies in a particular industry, or it might be affecting all the industries in a particular country, or it might be worldwide also. So external factors are uncontrollable factors. And the risk which is created by external factors is known as systematic risk. Second category is internal factors. These factors are company specific. That is, these factors are the factors which affect only a particular company. So these can be controlled if efficient decisions are made at the right time. Through efficient management or through a good decision making skills, we can overcome these type of risks. So the risk which is created by internal factors which are firm specific is known as unsystematic risk. So we can say that the total risk is a combination of both systematic risk and unsystematic risk. Systematic risk is the uncontrollable external risk and unsystematic risk is the controllable internal risk. Now, what is systematic risk? I said it is uncontrollable risk which is beyond the control of the company and it is caused by external factors. External factors could be economic changes. That is, there is a change in the business cycle. The economy is now currently going through recession phase or a depression phase. It's going to affect the performance of all the companies in different industries. So their returns might fluctuate. There's political instability. There is a change in the political party or there are various social changes taking place. All these are beyond the control of the company and this will impact the price of your securities. So these are all systematic risk. So systematic risk is that portion of total variability in security returns caused by such system-wide factors. Now there are different types of systematic risk. First one is interest rate risk, second one is market risk, and third one is purchasing power risk. Let us see what is interest rate risk. See, interest rate risk is that risk which is created due to variation in the interest rates. Simple, right? Okay. So let's see. This is the risk that affects debt securities like bonds and debentures. You're familiar with the words bonds and debentures. So we know that debentures and bonds carry a fixed rate of interest. We can say it has got a coupon rate of interest. Now, when the interest rate for your bond or debenture is fixed, we will look into the market interest rate. Suppose you are issuing a bond worth rupees 100. You're going to look into the current market interest rate. What is the interest rate which is being offered in the market at the time of issue of that particular bond or debenture? If the current market interest rate is 10%, that is all type of similar bonds and debentures are earning interest at 10% at present, then you're going to offer the same interest rate for your debenture and bond when you're issuing that particular security. What happens is once you fix the interest rate, there is no change in it. It is a fixed interest rate. If you're going to fix your interest rate for the bond as 10%, for the entire period or life period of the bond or the debenture, the interest rate is going to remain the same. It is going to be 10%. But the problem arises because the market interest rate will fluctuate. When you were issuing the security, the market interest rate was 10%. But after a period of time, your market interest rate might have gone up. It is now offering 12% or 12.5% interest rate. So when a person is trying to invest, he will look into your security and he will see that your security is offering only 10% interest when he spends 100 rupees. But in the same case, if he is purchasing a security for 100 rupees in the market at present, he will get 12% returns or 12.5% returns. So obviously the demand for your debenture or bond is going to decrease. So what option have we got to attract investors? So if we want someone to buy the bond or debenture that we have, what option do we have? There are only two things in front of us. There's price and there is interest. We cannot change the interest rate of the debenture or the bond. It is fixed at 10% because throughout the period of the debenture or the bond, the interest is going to stay as, or the coupon interest rate is going to be 10%. So you're left with only one option. You can change the price of the bond or the debenture. You might have bought it for rupees 100. Now when you're offering it to someone else, you have to offer it at a lower face value. You have to give it for rupees 80. Then there will be some sort of a buyer for the security, because if he's spending 80 and he's getting the interest rate, suppose the first time you spend rupees 100 to purchase that particular bond, 10% interest rate means you're going to get 10 rupees as interest. Now at present the market interest rate is 12.5%, so the demand for your bond has gone down. So what you're going to do is you're going to offer that particular security for rupees 80. So the person who has now spent rupees 80 will get 10 rupees at the end of the year. So when you compare that, the person is actually earning 12.5% return on the 80 rupees that he spent. So the interest rate of the market, which is currently going on, that interest rate and the actual return he got from the debenture will be the same when you reduce the price. That is 80 into 12.5% will give you 10 rupees, which is the coupon rate of the debenture. So you have to reduce the price of the bond or debenture to get buyers for it. So market interest rate will fluctuate. So the person who actually invested rupees 100 is going to incur a loss now because he had to reduce the price of the debenture or the bond. There could be a reverse situation also. The market interest rate could fall. It is now currently offering only 8%, whereas your bond or debenture is offering 10%. Then there is high demand for your bond or debenture. In that case, you could increase the price of your bond or debenture from 100 to a higher rate. So we can say that the market interest rate and the price of your bond is inversely related. Okay, so that is what is described under the interest rate risk. Market price of bonds and debentures is inversely related to the market interest rate. Keep that in mind always. It is inversely related. So the market interest rate directly affects the bond prices or the debenture prices. The variation in bond prices caused due to the variation in interest rates is known as interest rate risk. Now, there is also another risk arising from interest rate. Sometimes the investors will invest with borrowed funds. That is, they do not have money in their hand. They will borrow funds and then make an investment. Now, these borrowed funds will demand a payment of interest, right? When you're borrowing money, you have to pay interest at a fixed rate. So the investor will get a profit only if the return that he gets from the bond or debenture is higher than the interest that he has to pay for the borrowed funds. Suppose you're going to have to pay interest for at 6% for the borrowed funds. You must get a return of 10%. Then 6% will be paid off for the borrowed funds and remaining 4% will be your profit. But if the interest rate for the borrowed funds keeps increasing, then the profit margin will keep decreasing. So there is also risk due to interest rate. So the share, that is, if a person is investing in shares from borrowed funds, and if he is getting a good margin out of it, then there is a demand for the shares. But if the interest for borrowed funds keeps increasing, then people will not be interested in borrowing funds and investing in shares because the return is not sufficient. Then in that case, the demand for the shares will go down and the share prices will have to come down. So the share prices are indirectly affected by variation in the interest rate. Bond prices are directly affected, whereas share prices are indirectly affected. The variation in interest rates may indirectly influence the stock prices. So interest rate risk is a systematic risk which affects bonds directly and shares indirectly. Coming to the second type of systematic risk, market risk. The variation returns caused by volatility of the stock market. We know that the stock market price keeps fluctuating. There will be a bullish trend or a bearish trend. These bullish trend where the prices keep going up or the bearish trend where the price keep falling is caused due to fluctuations in the business cycle. There is a during the recession time, the price will act in a certain way. During the recovery time, it will act in a different way. So business cycle plays an important role. But the business cycle will bring about changes only in the long run. But we can see that the prices are fluctuating on a daily basis also. We can see that when we are checking the stock market prices. So what are the factors that cause fluctuation in price on a daily basis? Short-term volatility is caused due to two reasons. One is real tangible events, and second is due to intangible events. So prices are affected due to the reaction of the investors. The reaction of investors are affected by two reasons. Tangible events like there is a change in the political party, or there is a change in the GDP rate, or the CEO of a company committed suicide. So these are tangible factors, real news. Because of these tangible news, we are going to react, and the investor might make a buy or sell decision. And when a group of people make a same decision, there's going to be price changes. Now, what is the second one? Intangible events. It is the emotional instability of the investor. Sometimes there is no particular reason, but the majority of the investors expect the price to fall or expect the price to increase, and then they will act accordingly, which will ultimately result in the price to increase or decrease. So the emotional instability of the investors will also create volatility in the stock market. So the variation in returns caused by volatility of stock market is referred to as market risk. Third one is purchasing power risk. The variation in returns caused by inflation is known as purchasing power risk. See, when we are investing rupees 100 today, we expect to get 110 after 1 year. Suppose we are expecting to get rupees 110 1 year. But if the inflation rate was 8% during that period of time, then the 100 rupees that you hold today is worth only rupees 92 after a year because the purchasing power or the value of the money decreased. So it is necessary that the actual return that you get from your investment should always be higher than the inflation rate. That is, if your inflation rate is 10%, the return from your investment must be 12% for you to hedge against inflation. So the variation returns caused by inflation. If the inflation is too high, then the purchasing power decreases. Even though we get a good return in future, the inflation has increased and the purchasing power would come down. So that is the purchasing power risk. Now, what are the two sources that create inflation? There are two factors that could be the cost push or the demand pull inflation. The cost push inflation means the cost of production increased and therefore the prices of goods were pushed up. That is, when the cost of production increases, automatically the price of the goods will increase and this will lead to an inflation. So that is one of the reasons, the cost push inflation. Second one is demand pull inflation. That is huge demand for a particular product, but there is not sufficient supply of that product. Then the prices are going to be pulled up. So there is a demand pull because of the excess demand and less supply. There's going to be a price rise which will lead to inflation. So these two factors will lead to inflation. When there is inflation, the purchasing power will go down, and this is a risk for the investor. Next one is unsystematic risk. Changes in factors affecting only the company. Okay, due to company specific factors, there is a variation in the return, then it is known as unsystematic risk. That is, there might be a raw material scarcity, there might be labor strike, management inefficiency. Due to these reasons, the expected return and the realized return varied, and this is a reason behind unsystematic risk. Now, what is an unsystematic risk? It is a variability of return because of some firm-specific factors. Now, there are two types of unsystematic risk. One is business risk and the other one is financial risk. Business risk is caused due to the operating environment, changes in the operating environment. See, the operating cost need to be efficiently managed. We know that the operating cost is divided into fixed cost and variable cost. Now, if the proportion of fixed cost in your operating cost is too high, then it is going to affect the performance of your company. In case there is a decrease in the income of the company, the fixed cost cannot be reduced. So it's going to consume a major part of your return, and the company is going to have to pay lesser dividend rates or pay lesser amount of return to the shareholders. So it will cause a variability in the actual return and the expected return. So the proportion of fixed costs need to be kept at a comfortable or a convenient rate at all times. So the risk which is created because of the operating environment of the business, changes in the operating environment of the business, is known as business risk. So business risk is a function of the operating conditions faced by a company and is a variability in the operating income caused by the operating conditions of the company. Second one is financial risk. Financial risk is a case of financial leverage. That is the amount of debt that you're using in your company. You can use own funds as well as borrowed funds. When you're borrowing funds, you're creating a debt. The debt portion will always demand an interest at fixed rates from you. So if you're borrowing too much funds, then you have to ensure that the interest that you pay for the borrowed funds is lesser than the actual rate of return that you get from the investment. That is, what you're earning is higher than what you're paying for the borrowed funds, then it is okay. But if when the situation arises where the rate of return that you're earning goes below the rate of return which you have to pay for the borrowed funds, then you're going through a loss. At that time, the return of the investors will be affected. You will not be able to pay your stakeholders at a promised rate of return. So in that case, the earnings per share is going to go down and there's going to be a risk, and this is known as the financial risk. That is, the variability in earning per share due to the presence of debt in the capital structure of a company is referred to as financial risk. So if you're a firm which has debt or borrowed funds, then the rate of interest that you paid for your borrowed funds must always be below the actual rate of return that you get from the investment. Then earnings per share will increase. Otherwise, the earnings per share will go down. This probability or possibility of variation in return is known as financial risk. There are two types of risk. So with that, we come to an end. We will learn about the measurement of risk in the next video. Thank you.